I've always found it haunting, how something so vast, so invincible, could simply vanish. Rome wasn't just a city, it was an idea, a civilization that promised order in a chaotic world, and for nearly 1,000 years it delivered. But no empire lasts forever. Beneath the marble, the cracks were already forming. It began long before the year 476. It began with a man named Julius Caesar. In 44 BCE, the Roman Senate gathered beneath the marble statue of Pompey, Caesar's old rival. What was meant to be a routine session became a slaughter. A group of senators, among them his trusted ally Marcus Brutus, drew their daggers and struck him 23 times. The last breath of Rome's most powerful man echoed off the stone walls. They said they killed him to save the Republic, but in truth, they destroyed it. When Caesar died, his great-nephew Gaius Octavius was just 18, studying abroad in Illyricum. Days later, he learned Caesar had named him heir, adopting him posthumously as Gaius Julius Caesar Octavianus. Overnight, the boy became a target and a symbol. Back in Rome, Caesar's general Mark Antony claimed the mantle of power, but Octavian was shrewd beyond his years. He rallied Caesar's loyal veterans, forged uneasy alliances, and with Antony and Marcus Lepidus formed the Second Triumvirate, a three-man dictatorship. Together, they avenged Caesar's death, hunting down Brutus and Cassius, who both met their end in the east. Yet Rome could never serve three masters. Power was oxygen, and there was never enough to share. By 31 BCE, Antony and Octavian turned on each other. Their final confrontation came at the Battle of Actium, off the coast of Greece. Octavian's forces crushed Antony and Cleopatra's fleet. Days later, the doomed lovers took their own lives in Egypt. Octavian returned to Rome triumphant. The Senate named him Augustus, the Exalted One. And with that, the Roman Empire was born. For 2 centuries, Rome shone like the sun. The Pax Romana, the Roman peace, stretched from Britain to the sands of Arabia. Its legions built roads that tied continents together. Its aqueducts carried water farther than any civilization had imagined, and its laws defined justice for centuries to come. But peace is never permanent. The empire had grown too vast, too dependent on conquest. When the borders stopped expanding, the wealth stopped flowing. The Senate decayed into corruption. Generals bought loyalty with coin instead of honor, and the army, once Rome's iron spine, began to rot. By the 3rd century, Rome was a body with too many wounds. Civil wars erupted endlessly. Emperors rose and fell in months, murdered by their own guards. The economy spiraled, inflation soared, and the faith of the people began to drift. Then came Diocletian, a soldier from humble origins who tried to restore order through control. He split the empire in two, east and west, believing no man could govern such a vast dominion alone. It was a logical reform, but it planted the seed for Rome's ultimate division. The East, centered in Byzantium, soon to be Constantinople, thrived with trade and wealth. The West, anchored in Rome, decayed under its own weight. And then came a man who would change the soul of the empire itself, Constantine the Great. In 312 AD, Constantine prepared for battle against his rival, Maxentius. The night before, he claimed to see a vision, a blazing cross in the sky, and the words, "In this sign conquer." He ordered his men to mark their shields with the Christian symbol. The next day, he triumphed at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge and entered Rome as a victor chosen by God. Within a year, Constantine legalized Christianity with the Edict of Milan. By 380 AD, under Emperor Theodosius, Christianity became the empire's official faith. The old gods, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, faded into myth. Pagan temples closed. Bishops and priests replaced senators and philosophers as the moral compass of the empire. Rome no longer worshipped conquest, it worshipped salvation. But while faith gave the empire a new unity, it also deepened the divide between East and West. Constantinople, rich, fortified, spiritual, became the new heart of power. The West, stripped of wealth and plagued by corruption, was left to fend off the storm brewing beyond its borders. That storm came in the form of tribes Rome once called barbarians: the Visigoths, the Vandals, the Huns. Driven by hunger, war, and fear of the unstoppable Huns, entire nations began migrating into Roman territory. What began as border skirmishes soon became invasions. Rome's legions, underpaid and often filled with foreign mercenaries, struggled to defend the once glorious frontier. In 410 AD, the unimaginable happened. Rome was sacked. Led by Alaric, king of the Visigoths, the invaders stormed the Eternal City. For 3 days, they plundered the capital of the ancient world. The streets where emperors once paraded in triumph now ran with ash and fear. The empire survived, but it was mortally wounded. The myth of Rome's invincibility had died. A few decades later, another terror swept across Europe: Attila the Hun, the so-called Scourge of God. He united the Hunnic tribes into a single war machine and cut a path of destruction through the Balkans and Gaul. Even Rome trembled at his approach. In 452 AD, Pope Leo I himself rode out to meet Attila, unarmed, and somehow persuaded him to turn back. Legend says Attila saw a divine vision warning him against attacking the holy city. Others say he simply demanded tribute and left richer than before. By now, the Western Empire was a shadow. Its armies were divided, its treasury empty. The emperors were little more than puppets controlled by generals and foreign kings. And in 476 AD, it all came to an end. The Germanic general Odoacer, once a soldier in Rome's service, marched into the capital. He deposed the boy emperor Romulus Augustulus, whose very name, Little Augustus, seemed a cruel joke on Rome's past glory. Odoacer didn't claim the imperial title for himself. Instead, he sent the crown to Constantinople, declaring the Western Empire no more. The Roman Empire, at least in the West, was dead. The collapse left Europe fractured. Roads fell into ruin, trade withered, cities emptied. Knowledge faded as literacy declined. Out of the ashes, a new order emerged, not of emperors, but of kings, knights, and priests. The Catholic Church became the glue holding what remained of civilization together. Monasteries preserved books, recorded history, and taught faith to a darkening continent. In the vacuum of Roman authority, powerful warlords claimed land through loyalty and violence. The birth of feudalism. The old Roman world of marble and philosophy had given way to a medieval one of castles and crosses. And yet, Rome never truly vanished. The Eastern Empire, the Byzantine Empire, continued for nearly 1,000 more years, preserving Roman law, art, and learning. Its capital, Constantinople, would stand until 1453, when the Ottomans finally claimed it. Even today, Rome's shadow lingers. Our laws, our architecture, even our languages, all trace their roots back to that empire. It is said that when Rome fell, darkness covered Europe for centuries. But in truth, that darkness was also a rebirth, the soil from which new civilizations would rise. Sometimes I wonder if the same could happen again. If one day our own empires, built on technology, wealth, and pride, might crumble just as Rome did. And if they do, will we recognize the moment when the light begins to fade? Because the fall of Rome wasn't a single night of collapse. It was 1,000 small choices, a slow forgetting of what made it great. And in that forgetting, an empire that ruled the world simply disappeared.